Tonight's tactical enhancement is Irish whiskey. Tonight we're playing Warhammer 8th edition, 2100 points. It's a battle line because it's late and my brains can only handle so much tactical finesse. And we have the pure, if such a word applies, Khorne Daemon army that I'm fielding. Haven't had these guys out in a bit. And opposing them is a Beastmen army with a few interesting quirks. And a giraffe.
And a minotaur giant.
And a minotaur giant. Alright, Doug, talk us through what you've got.
Eggy the Razor Gore, Ferdinand. Big bull to Beastman giant, 225
so he's a giant by the rules?
Yes.
Yep, righto, lovely.
Beastman giant. Razor Gore, Tuskor chariot, Razor Gore chariot, a unit of 21 Bestigor with the standard of discipline.
Got to zoom in on these fuckers, they look good.
Still work in progress with the paint job. That Kazrak is just a standard beast lord. Has a couple of magic. Has a sword of battle, crown of command. The battle standard bearer has the gnarled hide, and then we have another Razor Gore chariot, a big unit of Centaur led by Goros Warhoof.
And the giraffe represents 4 of them as a unit filler. You don't get that every day.
Yeah, it's got a headbutt or kick some demons. And then you got the 5 Chaos Hounds just to round it out.
Right, lovely. That's 2100 points of horror. And no magic in there.
No magic.
No magic and only a bit of shooting. Well, Khorne will like you for the lack of magic. And in the red corner, we have 4 Juggernaut Riders, called something else these days. What are they called? Blood Crushers, presumably for copyright purposes, but I still think of it as Juggernauts. Then we have a block of 17 Bloodletters. I normally field them as 24 plus a hero, but I can only afford 17 at the points cost. And they have the army standard bearer in there who has +2 attacks because I gave him some exalted thingamy. And he's got the Locus of Wrath, so he causes hatred for the heralded units. They reroll misses in the first round of combat. Then we've got another unit of 17 with the Herald of Khorne, who's got 2+ armor today and also full of hatred. Fred, the Bloodthirster, who has the thing where every time he inflicts an unsaved wound, he gets a wound back, and he has an Axe of Khorne. And over there we've got another unit of Juggers. So, looking very monochromatic. These fellas, just to bang on about it, when I painted them, I wanted to do it so the weapons look like an outgrowth of their body, like their horns, with just brass bits bolted on. So their blades all look like they've grown onto them as an integral part of the beast, because, you know, I figured a Khorne Demon, it's not like they come home, hang the sword up on the wall and go about cooking dinner. They basically just live and breathe the fucking thing. It may as well be an outgrowth of their physiology. But anyway, that's the army ready to roll. Now we're ready to roll for first turn. Highest dice roll goes first. I get a +1 because, well, he has an awful lot of little bits of stuff that all got to deploy before I can put my army down. Alright, 4 versus 3. Alright, well, Khorne's going first. We'll check in at the end of turn 1. End of turn 1. We maneuvered with Khorne. These guys have come up to start covering the flank as the rest of the army redeploys, which is my attempt at a cunning ploy. We'll see if it actually does anything, aside from leave my flank vulnerable to these chaps. So Eggy has moved up on the flank to presumably try and harass these guys. There's a giant wandering around in the forest. These chaps popped up close and did a bit of quick shooting and didn't actually do anything. And over here we're seeing these guys are coming around the flank. So that's it. That's turn 1. Uneventful because there's no magic and not much shooting. I think that will all change in about a turn or so. We'll check in some point in turn 2. Well, the first half of turn 2 has been uneventful. These guys manoeuvred to be out of the charge arc of the giant. They may yet cop it in the flank from Eggy. We'll see how that goes. But their job is basically to just keep this flank preoccupied while we redeploy the line over here. So we got our line back after last turn's manoeuvre. That's okay. We're facing some pesky dogs. Don't know what they're going to do. Cheap ass Centaur Knights, for lack of a better description, supported by a chariot. He might be in charge range of these guys. Probably is. I reckon this unit's going to cop it rather badly. But that may just have to be the price we pay. And then the main enemy rank and file unit's hanging all the way back over there, which is interesting. I wonder what they're going to do this turn. Okay, so in the Beastmen turn 2, Eggy did charge these guys in the flank. Fortunately, the other chap who was going to do it, that other monster over there, didn't make the distance and the chariot didn't bother.
Can I just say Eggy got egg in the face?
Oh, God almighty. Yes, you can say that. He took a wound, did nothing, bounced off and ran away. And we declined to chase him because chasing him would have put us edge on in front of that thing, and that doesn't look like a good idea. There was a bit of shooting. All these guys shot at this unit and they killed one. And then over here, this lot charged into my first unit of juggernauts, who are now all over here in the casualty pile. Might I say they rolled up a fucking storm, and there's a character in there who has a weapon that does D3 per wound that gets through, and I have no idea if the dice rolls were good, bad, or otherwise, but either way, they fucked up my juggers in one round.
I'll say they were pretty good. Man Smasher is the magical weapon.
Yeah.
Demon Smasher on that one. With the
And of course, because we don't have much in the way of armour on these juggers, yeah, it did do quite a bit of damage, but then so did the impact hits, and then so did all the spears on the charge, and so on and so forth. That was a hell of a big hit. Fortunately, they didn't follow through, so I can now fuck them up in the counter charge, and I'll report on what happened there in just a moment. In the Khorne turn 3, these fellows did a whole lot of very careful measuring to shuffle into position so that when they inevitably get smashed by all this stuff, it'll be in the face and not in the arse. On the other flank, right. Well, we crashed this unit of Bloodletters and the Greater Demon into the, what are they, Ungor? Centaur cavalry. Smashed the shit out of them and they ran away. But they ran really fast, so we didn't catch them and didn't even bother with the Greater Demon. At the same time, this other unit here crashed into the chariot, which was back here. Didn't kill it outright. It did take 3 of ours off in the process, but we wounded it enough, beat it by enough that it ran, it rolled poorly, we chased it, and ended up over here, facing the dogs. It's an awkward situation where you need to rearrange our battle line, but we have smashed the Centaurs so badly they're not coming back. We're assuming the character can roll separately to come back, but not 100% sure how that rule works. It just seems like the way to play it for the evening. Yeah, so we got some revenge on the 300 odd points worth of juggernauts that were killed. How much was the value of those 2 units I smashed?
The chariots 145, the whole Centaur squad, including the guys, like 550, which is why I say that they're not very good.
Wow. I mean, the character himself would be worth, what, a couple of hundred?
Hayes, I think 150 of that.
See,
Maybe 170. But you have to already buy like a Centaur and then upgrade it. So maybe it's maybe 170.
See, this is what I'm saying, though. Greater Demon 500, Centaurs 500.
I know, they're not competitive. I know.
They're not competitive.
I know.
Yeah, that's too rough.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's a decent king hit. It's a bit of vengeance for the Juggernauts here. That's worth noting. The majority of those Bloodletters were lost in the same combat as well. So, yeah, it was a bloody 2-way affair. And now we're over to turn 3 for the Beastmen. Right, so on the Demon's left flank, they've moved up outside of the charge arc of the Greater Demon, but that's about it. Some various Ungor or whatever they're called have been hopping in and out of the tower. Over here, by some miracle, there's still one Juggernaut left out of 4, but that unit got charged in the face by both chariots, the giant, and a flank attack from the Ungor. I was rather hoping that I'd kill a bunch of them in order to swing the combat resolution. But no, I managed to roll a whole lot of fuck all, frankly.
Yeah, the chariots did more damage than the giant, and the giant's club stuck in the ground.
Yeah, the giant did a couple of wounds and got his club stuck.
Yeah, but nowhere near enough damage to the wounds.
Chariots did a lot. Look, that was a hell of a lot of stuff to smack into one Jugger unit. I'm surprised they're there at all. The Jugger unit really was there in order to soak up this flank so that I could do more constructive things on that flank. Which I suppose they're doing, but I was rather hoping to kill a bit more in the meantime. So the Juggers are having a bad day today. Let's see if we can recover some of that by doing something useful over here. Righto, well, in the Khorne turn 4, they more or less re-established their battle line. That's all they could do to face up those fellas. Now, over here, this was the only guy left, and he had 1 wound. He's still the only guy left with 1 wound. He inflicted 2 wounds on the giant, and everyone else went stacks on and did absolutely fucking nothing, and then decided to run away. Except the giant, who's the only guy I actually managed to hurt.
Big Ferdinand made us stand stuff.
Warhammer is having itself a fucking moment today. They will no doubt come back and fucking charge me in turn 6, but I have to say that was a pretty extraordinary turn of events. I'm very surprised to have a unit left there at all.
That was your turn, wasn't it?
Especially after the last turn when they managed to do, 8 wounds or something. Because it's the same set of attacks, except for the giant, but yeah.
There you go. Alright, so we're going into, I think, Beastmen turn 4, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Beastmen turn 4, you're right.
I think so. There we go. Chance to rally. Alright, well, turn 4 for the Beastmen, and these fellows here failed the charge, which is fortunate. These fellows ran long and shot and didn't achieve anything. And the giant did a rather excessive overkill in smashing the living hell out of this standard bearer, who's now joined the rest of his fellows in, well, I think the rest of them are probably going to get turned into raw chaos stuff, having failed so miserably, but the standard bearer may be exempted for having lasted a bit longer. Otherwise, that's unit's gone, so that's 2 whole units of Juggers gone. Yeah, they held up a lot on this flank, but Jesus, I paid for it as well. Now we're into turn 5 for the Demons.
That was with the rerolls too.
Right, so I went and fucked up completely and did my charge order wrong. I should have done the Greater Demon first, but instead I sent these guys in first in that order. Very confidently doing exactly the wrong thing, so they've gone in unsupported. And while they did win the combat, there's not very many of my guys left there. So that was a bit of a fuck up. Basically, I'm going to lose that unit before I get a chance to polish off the rest of that unit.
I reckon the Greater Daemon's going
to
to attack the back of his own unit out of disgust.
That's a good idea. Is that strategically viable? I wonder. It's not a bad idea.
I feel like the way they're going, they'd be like, no, fuck your attacks. We'll make out one save anyway. And then the Herald ascends.
Well, we did get lucky in this round of combat. I don't think it's going to happen again. But anyway, on with turn. God, what are we up to? 5?
Yep.
Turn 5 for the Beastmen, I think. I'm losing track of turns. All right, turn 5 for the Beastmen. A whole lot of manoeuvring. I'm a little worried about manoeuvring, but not too worried yet. 14 game archers all had a go at him and did nothing, which is what you'd expect, but I commend their optimism. This was a low casualty fight, thank fuck. My hero did nothing and then took a wound in return from the battle standard bearer of the enemy. But then the Lord, Beastman Lord, didn't do an awful lot either. I only took 2 actual dead guys. I only killed 3 in return, and then we passed our leadership, so not a lot happened. But the good news is that it's freed up the frontage of that unit, and I can finally get the Bloodthirster in on turn 6. Maybe those guys were really, really lucky. Let's see how we go. Well, it sort of worked. We did chase off the remainder of that unit. We destroyed them all, except for the general. He's got a couple of wounds left. We weren't 100% sure how the combat folds in, because these guys, all the guys they're in contact with, died. So does that mean they chase the remaining guy or not? Or do they shuffle into contact with whoever's left? Either way, we decided to just leave it be. Now, the other unit of infantry were totally killed down to a man, or whatever the hell they actually are. So the casualties are piling up thick and fast. Look at that, that's the dead Khorne. These Ungors saw that combat and ran away. And start of turn 6 for the Beastmen, the Lord has just rallied. So we'll see what actually happens for the combat in turn 6.
250.
Alright, in the last turn, the General rallied. A chariot and this thing charged into the greater Daemon. Chariot did impact hits and knocked off a couple of wounds, but then he smashed the chariot in return and got those wounds back because he's got the magical whoop-de-doo that does it. And we weren't sure who won the combat, but I rolled for the Daemon and he passed anyway. And that's it, that's game. So massive casualties all around. This is all that's left of the Khorne army. 1 character, 1 unit, and 1 greater Daemon. That's all the dead stuff, including a hero, 2 complete units of juggers. And my lord, not a lot left of the Beastmen army. 3 units of Ungors.
General.
The general, a giant who's worth quite a bit, 1 chariot and 1 beast.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Lots of little things ran away. A unit of dogs, 1 random beast.
You got about 600 points on the table. Jeez, 900 something.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, yeah, so I think it may not even be enough to declare a victory as such, but it's just the casualties for the Khorne was so huge. I'm actually not entirely sure where we're at with the points and all of that. Actually killed, what, 600, 7, 8, about 800, 8 or 900. Wow, impressive. Right, gentlemen, what have we learned?
Yeah, it's the thump with club is interesting. It's the first time I've rolled a double so that he gets his club stuck in the ground so can't attack in the next round. So it was cool to actually experience that. My Beast Lord only started to really do damage once his unit had already been killed, but
He whiffed a bit.
Yeah, he did at least kill something on the last one. He got 5, which made up for 0 on the first one, and then 1, which didn't really make up for it, but at least he got a couple of casualties. The battle standard bearer did okay in that because he'd wounded the Khorne hero was then able to be killed by the normal dudes. The Ungor kind of just doing their thing. This is the first game I've ever played with Beastmen where all my Ungor units have survived. That's actually a first. So
They
that's,
look like light cavalry fodder, don't they?
yeah, I've normally they're the first things to go, so that was interesting. And yeah, it was great to try Goros again, and you know, see what he had to do, and yeah, fun game.
Can we just say as well that Goros was better off dead earlier to get the bonus?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that would have helped you in that last in the
Would have
combat
achieved a
over
bit
here
more.
where you actually had 2 chariots run away.
Yes, I did
Alright.
misposition my general unit where I had intended him to be maybe an inch closer this way, which would have given them the rerolls. But I mispositioned them by being a little bit wishy-washy as to whether to go on this side.
Chris made up for that by failing to get his greater demon to charge first
Correct.
and devour the combat.
Yeah.
And then I think that's worth
I think that's worth commenting on.
Yes,
That's the
absolutely.
principal lesson: make the small thing charge the enemy unit first.
Yeah.
Yes. To get
Yes.
Yeah, that was a
That nearly fucked everything up. If I got that right, I would have smashed right through. And
you would have saved the other unit
It
too.
wouldn't have
Exactly.
run though, so I still would have had him locked in. But just because he had the crown of command, but it was interesting when he did get in. He truly did unleash, and he made up for lost time.
Yeah.
I think killed maybe
Bonkers.
9 or something.
and then yeah, plus the thunder stomp. So he lived up to his name in the end.
He
And
did roll 11
survived.
on the charge to get in. He was very enthusiastic.
Yes, he'd been
Wow.
waiting too long.
On that note, I think it's past midnight on a school night, so we're going to have to pack it in. Thanks for watching. Feel free to hit like, subscribe, comment. point out all the horrible things we did wrong.
What did you learn from this battle? Just quickly, what you've done differently?
I definitely would have moved them a bit closer to this way, and then so that way I would have had the rerolls.
Yeah.
Obviously, without the miscommunication with the Goros thing, I probably think it wouldn't have made a difference. In that they would have had the rerolls anyway. I will also this I didn't really do a good job of maneuvering around the castle, which makes sense for Beastmen because they hate buildings and they just don't really see that stuff. So that actually kind of split some of my stuff up, and with the forest meant that my chariots couldn't make some of the charges because it was a bit more risky. They didn't want to go through the trees. So yeah, it was my first game playing like with a building where the whole thing isn't a building, so that was kind of fun and that was unique. And I liked just the 360 charge off the building, so that was something that I wasn't sure how to play. So that was something that I would incorporate into my own games, in that you can do a 360 charge. So that meant that the Ungors very uncharacteristically decided to be brave and actually charge in on the Khorne Juggernauts, which they never would normally do. Went for the flank charge, and only one of them died, which is quite crazy. Yes, a unit of 5 Ungor charged a unit of 4 Khorne Juggernauts and lived to talk about it. So they are almost the unsung heroes of the match. And with one more round of shooting, they were about to kill that Khorne Daemon, but we won't.
Oh, of course they would have.
With a bunch
of course they would have. Yeah.
Yeah, this one dude with the horn.
Just one more turn, I would have killed that thing.
Didn't your giant as well do something like 7 wounds with this club?
Oh, but it didn't matter because I think that's only on one guy.
Yeah.
So it did thoroughly kill that one dude, but those 8 overflows I don't believe count.
Decisively conclude that combat. All right. Well, look.
Would you have done anything differently, Chris?
Just that charge, really. That's the. I think using my juggers as a speed humps was not entirely smart, but it did actually work in the end. It's just an expensive way of getting the job done. Anyway, folks, time to call it a night.